Okay. Do you know about polls? The latest poll numbers in the race for the U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania suggest Republican Pat Toomey could be kicking Arlen Specter out of his longtime seat. That would be a huge upset. Fox's exclusive Rasmussen poll has those numbers, and here to tell us all about it is Scott Rasmussen. Hi, Scott. Arlen Specter taking on Joe Sestak, but no matter who wins that race, Pat Toomey beats them in this poll?
Well, what this really tells us is very little about Pat Toomey. It tells us a lot about Arlen Specter. It tells us something about the health care debate in the state of Democrats in the summer of 2009. The poll was taken right as Arlen Specter was struggling with town hall meetings. People in the state of Pennsylvania are generally opposed to the health care plan that's working its way through Congress. And guess what? The people who say they oppose that health care plan, they strongly oppose Arlen Specter. People who say they like the health, or the people who say that they like the health care plan are more on Specter's side. And we see similar numbers when you get to Sestak. So right now, what it's telling us is if the election were held today, Arlen Specter, with only 36%, is in serious trouble. This is the reason that parties in power have their controversial issues in the off years. It will give Specter a year to rebuild his standing.
So, Scott, it looks like, as you mentioned, Sestak does a little bit better than Arlen Specter against Toomey.
Right. Right. And again, right now that's because partly he's not as well known.
True.
And he gets a little more of the benefit from the Democratic leaning of the state. The other thing that we see in this, normally a long-term incumbent like Arlen Specter would get some crossover vote from the other party. But in this case, Specter was the one who crossed over, former Republican, became a Democrat, and Republicans statewide really dislike Arlen Specter. They feel he betrayed them when he supported the president's stimulus package and when he switched parties and now in this health care plan. So if Specter is the Democratic nominee, he won't get any support from the Republican Party. If Sestak is the nominee, the dynamic's a little bit different.
Scott, no health care reform. The majority of people that you polled say they'd rather have no health care reform than what is currently being proposed in Congress.
Yeah, this is perhaps the best measure of how bad the debate has gone from the Democratic perspective this year. Nationwide, most Americans say do nothing rather than pass this bill in Congress. Part of that is based on the generic suspicion of Congress. You know, by a 2-to-1 margin, Americans say no matter how bad things are, Congress can always make it worse. Part of it is that people tend to think the health care system is okay right now. And part of it has just been the poor way that the congressmen have been able to answer questions at these town hall meetings. We've seen Senator Specter struggle a little bit to answer questions about the details of the bill. We saw him say he didn't have time to read it, and that builds suspicion. So this is way too personal for people to want their congressmen to take chances with.
Yeah, Scott, thank you very much. We'll see you again next week, I would imagine. Thank